I'm Paul Stillmank, so I'm the founder and CEO of Second Rivers. We are working with all things data, AI, Gen AI, digital bots, agents, and we are already applying many of these concepts to the manufacturing sector. So for today, welcome everybody. I want to talk about a couple things. I can never tell when I walk in a room like this how far along people are on this AI journey. So I'm assuming everybody's heard of AI. I don't have to reach up and ask who's one is on Facebook this morning like I did 10, 15 years ago when I started Seven Summits. But I do want to kind of talk a little bit about what's continuing to happen with artificial intelligence. And so any one of these new technologies obviously goes through a hype cycle. How does it apply to my business? And it's not until we get real world case studies and can actually see people driving value and that looks like it's going to be sustainable that some companies want to invest in these pieces. So I want to make sure I ground this with the fact that obviously I built a company around this. I feel it's very real. It's continuing to proliferate at an incredible pace. These are some of the reports looking, this is a report from Epic AI where a lot of data is being gathered. There is some slower things happening, which you never hear anybody say when they're doing hype cycles. This is growing 4 to 5 times a year in growth since 2010, right? AI is not new. And some of it looks like in some of these reports in different areas is slowing down. But this is an astronomical number. And in all regards, right now, things are accelerating. A lot of these large language models, what we're able to do with these technologies in multiple industries is accelerating. That's driving people who are at the forefront of this to build larger and larger data centers and to really have the compute power to drive this forward and make it sustainable for all of us to count on for our businesses. We need a tremendous amount of power to drive these data centers. This is just an example of this. Here's another great example. Where are we going to get this power? So Microsoft is bought 3 Mile Island. They're working on a deal in Pennsylvania with the power company. This is the largest power contract in history. We need this power. Now we have a lot of ways to generate power, and there's all kinds of debates about where we're getting the power, if it's clean power and all this sort of things. But at the end of the day, China has nuclear power. They are unfettered in their ability to get after this, and we're in a little bit of an arms race on this, right? We're trying to get there first because it's going to unlock a lot of value, not only for our economy, but competitive with these other countries. So this is just an example of we need a lot of power. How do we get it? Why do we want it? And so this gets down to what's possible. You guys, I'm going to assume we're attending here, are manufacturing experts. I worked in manufacturing for 10 years at Rockwell. I've worked with manufacturers in my past company, but I'm not a manufacturing expert. I was joking to some of the people at my booth. I play a manufacturing expert on TV, but I'm not an expert. But I am an expert in this. And we're helping companies figure out how to apply these technologies for really productive business objectives in their company. I'm going to show you some case studies on this. But I want to, when you look at what Meta's doing with these glasses, it's up to you guys to imagine somebody, walking through a factory and being served up information from the equipment around them in real time without carrying around devices because they've got these technologies. This stuff is coming. We have to have these data centers, these models, these large language models, these generative capabilities to enable these types of technologies to mature so we can more quickly take advantage of them in our business. And this is just another example. I think, everybody knows about Gemini and Claude and Watson. We're building something called Marcos here in Milwaukee. These personas are allowing us to do a lot more with data generatively, which creates efficiency, and we're going to look at that. But this is here to say this stuff is proliferating. This company's $1 billion. I think its market cap is 60 to 80 billion right now. They just recently introduced an enterprise capable version of this. That's not just anybody can consume it publicly and openly, like in the API. And then this is the first. And I'm going to move quick here because I want to leave time for questions. But I do want to slow down for a second and show you this. And if you've seen this already, I apologize, but I think it shows you what's happening and where things are going to head. So let's pop this open real quick. Try to jump ahead a little bit.
Okay, let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations.
What does that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AESCBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, IV.
That's right. What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
These are Google glasses, not Meta glasses.
What can I add here to make this system faster?
Adding a cache between the server and database could improve speed.
What does this remind you of?
Schrodinger's cat.
So I think the message here on some of this material is that we're in an interesting time right now when you think about, and as a manufacturer, imagine walking into a plant operation, you've got your notebook, somebody's changed the configuration, and you're pointing at something and ask what's changed here? Who changed it? What was the most recent change? And just being served that content to make you more effective as you're walking through and inspecting an area of a plant. Or pulling up a batch recipe on a chemical solution and asking for 3 alternatives because something in the pulper isn't mixing right. And it tells you 3 or 4 changes that you could make and say, do you want to make those adjustments to these chemicals coming into this particular pulper? I used to work at Kimberly-Clark. So, I mean, these solutions that you're seeing might seem fantastic when you first see them, but they do apply to us as manufacturers and are going to come to market in a stronger and better way as we go forward. So let me just put this back in. So that's that one. And of course, we can't sit here and talk about manufacturing without talking about Elon Musk's robots and everything that's coming there. And now large language models are running in those bots, and they're becoming more and more effective. Tesla has these robots working already in their factories, and they're talking here about general availability in high production quantities in 2026. So for those of you looking to get after this next year, maybe not so much, but this stuff is real. It's getting smarter. I think the proliferation of AI in manufacturing is here, and it's working right now. And so I just wanted to emphasize that point. And then, I'm going to talk about some very specific manufacturing case studies and use cases that I think can be helpful across a broad range of manufacturers. Before I do that, as manufacturers, I'm assuming we're making some products, and we all have to market our products. And so I don't want to lose track of the fact that there are use cases, and you can contact me on any of this, that span horizontally a lot of companies. And I just kind of wanted to show you something that we're after here, right, in Milwaukee that I think is pretty cool. And I'm going to start out here, tell a little story about my breakfast with my wife this morning.
And that's where the idea of being data native comes in, which Seven Rivers talks about a lot.
Yeah, I saw that on their website. What does that even mean? It sounds kind of buzzwordy. Break it down for me. What does that actually look like in practice?
It's not just about having data. It's about building a company's DNA around data. Imagine a company where every single team, from marketing to product development, uses data to make better decisions. They're constantly analyzing customer behavior, tracking performance metric, and then using those insights to refine their strategies. That's the essence of being data native.
So it's like this constant feedback loop powered by data informing everything you do. Interesting.
And Seven Rivers can help businesses build that loop by implementing the right technologies like Snowflake and fostering a data-driven culture.
If I told you
they emphasize
that those are robots, and they are. They're digital robots. And all I gave them was the URL to my website. I told them nothing. I was astounded myself. I was listening to it. It even threw in some colloquialisms about summiting mountains and Sherpas, which was my last company, but it was accidental, so it was kind of fun to listen to. But how this was able to scan our website, the blogs we posted, and created basically a podcast. As product companies, I don't know if it's your product's a service, an insurance product, a manufactured product, an industrial product for automotive, the ability to create content and push your brands and your products ahead and past competitors is something we all want. I always tell executives at companies I meet, there's two major objectives: more profitable revenue and market share. And that's what we all want. That's how our sellers get paid. That's how our companies make money. I think that's pretty cool. The next day, I came back and shared this.
I mean, it sounds kind of buzzwordy. Break it down for me. What does that actually look like in practice?
It's not just about having data. It's about building a company's DNA around data. Imagine a company where,
Again, given time, I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing twice. These are robots, obviously. They don't quite look human, which is how we want it. We want this to be, okay, they're leveraging an AI agent to tell their story. The ability to do this like that has arrived. And the ability to control the scripts and the content, run a manifesto on your business, launch a new product offering. And now we've got, and we're building, I told you a little bit about Marcos, we're building agents that will go out and you tell me who your competitors are to your products. Like we're working with Omron in a very lean business of parts and push buttons. Competes with another business I used to work at Rockwell over here at the Clock Tower. And the ability to go out and have an agent find all the competitive pages and meta tags on those products without any black hat tricks and create landing pages that will scoop you to the right page, and then the click will take you to your product page or your demo. That also is super early that we can do this, and we can do it right now. And that's helping companies more quickly get their product to new places to capture that before this stuff reaches a maturity curve where everyone's like, well, yeah, I could just do that tomorrow. So I think horizontally, you want to be taking advantage of what's out there right now. And that's a little bit of the proliferation of what's going on here. And of course, here's Horses and Horses saying, hey, hire an expert. Again, I said I wasn't one, but Seven Rivers is doing a lot of this work. So I want to talk about some AI manufacturing case studies. And the first one I chose here, and again, I'm trying to think about, I see some large companies here, but think about mid-market manufacturers making products. MaxMind is using AI for its predictive maintenance. So on its plant floors, in the mining sector, their AI solution reduced downtime of equipment. This is huge, and you've read these case studies about Caterpillar and so forth, 80% improving. Now, most companies are doing something for predictive maintenance. And all this material will be shared through BizTimes. I've got public links to some of the case studies here. But when you think about AI-enabled predictive maintenance, part of what we're doing, and I know a lot of companies, Milwaukee Tools got a lot of IoT sensors like in the Sawzall, in the products, right? Because they're trying to help construction folks understand not to lose a day working on a site, so they have that sensor there. Being able to actually train, use AI and train it using that data so that you can start learning from other machine failures or inefficiencies or issues with those products is the first place, and that's data. So the AI models, AI and data have this synergistic relationship. To have an AI model, you have to train it and fine-tune it, and you need data to do that. Once you have all that data, that AI engine can actually help you then infer what's going to happen with that next product when it enters a particular state or a certain number of rotations and so forth, right? So we actually have to get AI trained. And so sensors and IoT data from your plant, from your equipment, from your machines, that's actively getting collected and put into a data store. And ultimately, we're trying to collect things that we think affect machine performance, obviously, so that we can identify when we're going to be at risk of downtime. And then that data gets loaded into these data warehouses. We use Snowflake for that. People using Databricks. People using Oracle. Some people already have all this data in a big database. Great. Then you can move on to some of these other steps here, which basically are using machine learning, algorithms, and AI to synthesize that data, compare that product in its current state to what happened in the past and help you predict and understand, give you feedback on a failure of that, so that you can step in before the product fails. And in the case of Milwaukee Tool, which I don't think is doing everything with AI yet, but when we worked with them on some of their online communities, they're putting all the IoT in the products, and what they were trying to do and distinguish themselves from competitors like, Amazon, right? So you could buy your Milwaukee Tool there, but why don't you get it at Home Depot? Because Home Depot offers this other service Amazon can't offer, and that's you can take that product on your way to the construction site and have it repaired, turn it in because maintenance, it hit a certain number of clicks, and help distinguish that local retailer in their life cycle as a supply chain. So to be able to do that and get that feedback, and then of course, they have to fit into that retailer, into the network of where the data goes, because we're actually trying to get more data to train the IT systems, AI systems even better to keep these algorithms going. And so this company here is a great example of somebody who leveraged that entire life cycle to reduce the downtime and predict what was going to happen with a really large piece of equipment that costs a tremendous amount of money per day to have it out of the field, right? So that's a little bit of how AI is helping take a known concept of predictive maintenance and put it on steroids and keep building the data. So you don't have to have people doing this, loading it, analyzing it, or writing the algorithms. It almost becomes self-learning. The next one here, this is another mid-market manufacturer, Bonfiglio. This one's in Europe. They're a global manufacturer of drive systems, right? So they're using, and not everybody is using Snowflake for this stuff, but that's my partner, and that's why a lot of these case studies that we're involved with are Snowflake-oriented. But what we're doing here is using an AI platform for real-time inventory management. In fact, I don't know if anybody from IWC is here. Scott Stein's the CI over there. They've done a really great job. They're making wire, and very special wire with coatings and so forth. And they actually have loaded all of their sales data. This isn't their example, but I'll talk about a local one while I put this up. So they have loaded all of their sales data, their inventory data, their invoicing data. They've loaded all that into a database, and then they actually can use the sales demand and an understanding of their current stock levels to decide, do they need to make more, or should they actually, do an overrun and do a discount and get that out of the input. There's not enough sales. So when do you do a stock overrun, discount? And that's all happening real time, powered by an artificial intelligence algorithm that's learned about their seasonality, what certain special coating wires sell to a certain type of year for certain things. And it's to the point where some of their data and how they do this is so valuable they could turn that into a data exchange, because other manufacturers would want access to understand what they're doing with that. So this is another great example of that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to train this AI model, and then we're trying to leverage data to predict production requirements. And that could even include consumer information. If you're a direct-to-consumer product sort of a company, you can use scans from social media and other indicators to tell you that you're going to see a demand spike for something so that you can be ready to serve that demand. Over periods of time, that's going to get smarter and smarter when certain things happen over and over again. And so it's the same idea as we're trying to get operationally more efficient. We're trying to understand when we have too much stock, when we're going to be short on stock. I can't give away every company we're talking to until we get business in, but I'll just say, let's say there's a large, in Wisconsin, so I'll just assume you can't guess who a large cheese manufacturer is because there's several of them. And they get this really high quality piece of cheese. How? Because they test. And they know that cheese can be used for certain products. When that cheese arrives, they've got to decide how they're going to cut it. Is it going to be sliced cheese, string cheese? Who needs this cheese? Which markets need the cheese? Where could we do strategic, dynamic pricing on this cheese to maximize all of that, controlled by data and AI, to predict where to cut a cut, what products, and where to deliver that cheese to maximize profits for that company. These are real Wisconsin case studies. This is a great one with Bonfiglio in terms of what they're doing to help increase production efficiency, reduce costs, not carrying so much inventory, train the model, continue to feed it data, and then ultimately, you can start to ask questions about that particular manufacturing process and guide what the next decision on that should be, which I think is pretty cool. I was at a manufacturer, another Milwaukee manufacturer, I was talking to the CEO and the president together, and he had a pretty large binder on his desk, and I asked what it was, and he said, that's my monthly report, like this. And he's a true operator, by the way, because I said, how would you like to talk to that report? Just load it into an AI engine. And he said, I learn a lot from reading this report. Young man, he called me young man. But so great, I take those compliments. But at the end of the day, read those pieces, but the ability to disseminate that and teach your team how to make decisions on that data set, the assembling of this report, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to spend time in other areas of the business to grow that business for the leadership in that business. And so these case studies are quite real. This is Nissan with its smart factory automation. I'm going to spend some time talking about this use case in a little bit. The idea of an intelligent factory. We already talked about the next wave of robots that's coming. To program and have a factory that's building electric vehicles with intelligent robots, which don't make as many mistakes, really reducing assembly time and so forth. And then this is Fanuc, who's building the robots, using AI to create them, which I like these last two. These are mega companies, by the way, perhaps compared to everybody's in here today. But Nissan is using the Fanuc products. Fanuc is actually using AI in their own manufacturing process to build these robots. And they, of course, want to know when this robot's going to fail. So all these use cases, all these case studies and the related pieces in manufacturing are creating a tremendous amount of data, but are using that data to help better understand how to create efficiencies in the manufacturing process. So any questions on any case studies? So I want to talk about use cases now, right? So case studies, a real life example of what we're doing. Use cases, a specific area of a business that could use this to create some more efficiency and goodness in terms of their manufacturing process. So when we talk about that, we like to think about these 5 core business spheres. And I would encourage anybody who's getting ready to do with AI, I will tell you right away from day one, do not do tech for tech's sake. If you have your data in Oracle, should you build some Gen AI solution on top of that before you start moving it to a new solution is up to you, but find a business problem that you're trying to solve and name that. So we like to talk about talent, customers, distributors, OEMs, right? The vernacular from a manufacturing perspective, how you distributing that product and getting it out there. The products themselves, can they be enabled and generate data? We're working with a couple of software companies who want to understand how people are using their product, and they're changing their product roadmap in the operating system of their products to put tags so they can understand what areas of the control software are being used so they can understand those behaviors in the product so they can build their own AI engine, right? So, and then I already talked about the example with the wire company who could actually build a data hub and a new product that they could make money on from their own manufacturing process. And then could we become more operationally efficient? So we're looking for a business problem around this, and we've come up with a model that thinks about the data so we can build the analytics, the machine learning, and then change something in the business. And that could be predictive maintenance, that could be an application, that could be this company, Logic Monitor, who puts new controls in their software and then comes up with a new product that you can buy to upsell. And so we've tried to think about manufacturing use cases that map into this model, and I'm going to walk through these. But the notion of automating production adjustments for efficiency, real-time inventory we talked about, dynamic pricing, there was one example of that where companies are using data insights to adjust pricing strategies in real time, like with the cheese company I talked about. So I think these type of use cases are the ones that I want to spend some time on. And so when I think about AI-centric use cases, predictive maintenance, quality control, I talked about supply chain optimization, dynamic scheduling, production planning. Predictive maintenance, implementing AI models to predict equipment failures is the number one use case where AI is becoming very, very automated, and you can probably get a solution. I actually think there's another company in Milwaukee that has this solution, software company that's gotten into some large organizations. But we're trying to reduce down plant time in the plant of the piece of equipment. And then the second use case is using IoT sensors and AI to monitor machine health in real time, alerting maintenance teams to just do the maintenance and optimize how those resources get allocated, right? Those are the top two. When you start looking at things like inventory management and compliance and real-time operation dashboards, I wanted to talk about these two. Again, I'm trying to pick things that almost everybody gets and is doing in manufacturing today with AI because they're kind of proving and there's a return on these. So inventory management's the first one. Implementing AI-driven predictive analytics to manage inventory levels. We just looked at that whole loop in that use case. So you're optimizing stock based on real-time sales data, reducing holding costs. You're also looking, I mentioned that company's got their invoices in that data set as well, right? Because they're also trying to understand the speed of cash into their business as they think about what they're going to do and what they're going to build next. And then predictive customer analytics. This gets down to customer behavior, predicting future buying patterns, understanding payment behavior, understanding purchase behavior. So we're also trying to understand churn risk. Some of the companies we work with are software companies, supply chain companies where there's a subscription and you want to know if that customer is going to churn. And that's all data and behavior driven, and machine learning models, that's advanced analytics, are really, really good, especially in product domain, of identifying churn risk. And then we can work with companies on strategies to avert churn, right? Because you see there's a risk, you can get your dynamic pricing strategy out. That renewal might be worth more to you if it's a multi-year contract. And so we want to understand and discern pricing strategies that best fit reducing churn opportunities in business. So we've put together, I'm not going to go through this one, but there's an architecture for doing this, and I talked a little bit about companies getting certain types of data, knowing what your business outcome you're going after is, like if you're trying to reduce inventory turns, if you're trying to limit overstock, if you're trying to get ready for some seasonality, and you have all that historical data, if that's your goal, what data should you move into this architecture? How are you going to manifest it, put an algorithm to it, and then have ultimately humans make the final decision on a lot of this, by the way, because I didn't spend a lot of time on this, but we're augmenting the enterprise. We're not replacing all the humans. We're trying to elevate what they do and take the menial work away. This architecture affords an ability to have everything you need in a place and the inspection that humans need to do to make a final decision on an order. Because if you're ordering raw materials and stuff, these are large expenses. I don't think you just can tell the robot to go ahead and buy that. So there's a way of doing this, and let me just take a pause here to say that one of the things that we've gotten really good, and I said that we have an AI agent of our own, and we've really trained this AI agent in multiple vertical sectors now, like manufacturing. So when we start to look at augmenting the enterprise for manufacturers, when we focus on, say, customers, and we think about behavior tracking and customer segmentation, sentiment analysis, customer feedback for a product buyer, these are produced from looking across incredible numbers of manufacturers, the case studies that have been submitted. And so for each one of these, and I'm going to beat this drum, what's the business benefit? Once we've identified, like for customer behavior tracking, we're trying to improve product alignment with customer needs so we can get increased sales and customer sat. So there's an approach to that solution, and there's a rapid prototype idea here. So if you're at the beginning of what you're thinking of doing with AI, right? So we're doing some really large programs across the country right now, but the number one thing in our sales funnel, when companies say, I need to get moving on this, is some kind of a rapid prototype or proof of concept. Because it's a smaller budget item, and everyone's trying to say, what should I do with this as I get ready for 2025 and 2026? Sometimes I hear executives, I hear people come in and say, my executive team is saying I have to do something. They've given me a budget to do it, and they want to build up some kind of a proof of concept or start to get their data organized. These are some of the top things we see POCs being built around. Customer segmentation, personalized insights. If we can understand how to personalize the buying experience for your product, we're going to get further. So the business here is larger sales throughput. The solution approach, we're using AI models to segment customers based on their behavior, demographics, and purchase history, and informing a very personalized strategy for each one to help that seller convert that sale or reduce that churn. And so each one of these, as you start to look at building solutions with AI in your business, and it's brand new, pick a business benefit, define the approach, and do a rapid prototype or a proof of concept. Some companies have already done these steps years ago, and they're moving on to next level pieces. But if you're just getting started, that's a strong recommendation. And then, again, on each one of these, I'll say customer segmentation and personalization is being done more than anything else because people are mostly focused on the top of their funnel, and rightly so. When you start to look at partners, and I can see these highlight it better than you can. So this is the one looking at partners. So how many people are selling products, manufacturing products direct? Are you selling them through distribution? Yeah, so where partners are involved, distribution, distributors, OEMs that are taking your product or factored products are happening, that partner data collaboration and how that works and how those customers actually carry quota for you to move your product in the market is something you could spend some time looking at. That was the one I was going to talk about because for the companies that we're working with, I mentioned Abron earlier, that's the forefront, right? Their products are going through a distribution network. Supply chain data unification is more about reducing delays in your supply chain so you can understand what the holdups are and using that data to help get your product to market more efficiently. That's also an important one. There's many, many more, like under just this partner distributor notion, there's probably 20 of these that we could put on a page. And this is what when we go into a customer, we help them go and prioritize that. These two, I think anybody would understand, and people are moving on already. And I love it when I see phones go up to go picture because I feel like I'm adding value. But this material will be made available, right, Dan? So, if you say so. All right, yeah. So I saw a camera back there, so something's happening back there. So anyway, so when we look at another good objective here, predictive maintenance, we talked about on-demand product customizations, automated quality control, any one of these. Like when the cheese comes in, I want to understand the control process on that, minimize waste, make sure every product's got the quality. But the middle one, in terms of increasing customer sat by allowing personalized products, that absolutely leads to higher sales rate. It might not relate to your product, so you have to look at each one of these. But for us, we're using AI-driven systems that can actually adjust production parameters in real time to create the tailoring of a product. That could get down. I don't think anybody's going to have their cheese packaged for them individually, but where that product goes and how it does get individualized into different product groupings, this relates to that. And again, the rapid prototyping idea here is, create a customization interface that allows customers to start to adjust, product specs if you have something that they can control with that, because that's a more delighted experience, and then orders go up, we know from experience. And then the last one, I think all of these are great. Anomaly detection. I had an example above I didn't include because I want to get to some time for questions, but when I worked at Rockwell, we had vision systems. And and automotive companies were the first ones to do this, where you'd have engine blocks coming down a conveyor, and they had trained the vision system to be able to identify what good product and defective product and what the edges of it looked like. And so anomaly detection is a big deal. I can't even tell you what that looks like right now with AI and vision systems and how quickly you can take historically bad products that got kicked out and train an AI algorithm to know the parameters and inspect product that's coming down the line and kick out the ones that had problems and get higher quality product through. Rapid prototype idea there is to get a dashboard built around anomaly detection so that you can start to understand what's happening in that process. Predictive maintenance actions is the number one use case where manufacturers are saying, I have equipment on the floor, not the stuff you're making. If you're selling Caterpillar, right, and you've got a big piece of equipment, knowing when that piece of equipment's going to be down, we understand. But if you actually have machines on the floor that if they break affect the ability to build product, you want to understand when that's going to happen so you can either maintain them or replace something before you actually stop making product. That's a well-proven use case where AI can be trained quite easily. And a lot of time, the rapid prototypes in that space, you're not too far away from being able to have something in production using AI in your business. And then the last one here around employees. This gets to be more horizontal. AI-enhanced recruitment onboarding is number one. Employee performance, data integration, workforce. Any HR department can tell you, what to do with performance data, how to make job reviews easier, how to do them throughout the year. But the AI-enhanced recruitment and onboarding, onboarding in general is something that AI is very strong at. Onboarding a new customer. onboarding a particular type of talent and training it. And you have to imagine, as we looked at some of these earlier agents, that somebody can join a company and go into a prompt-based window and just start asking questions after they've read about their job, and an agent will help get them there faster. Whether that's Kohler training someone on what they're doing with the new Delta faucets, and the customer service reps getting trained very quickly. It's listening in on calls. It's helping train the next person much more expeditiously. So recruitment and onboarding, easy to rapid prototype. A lot of us in my company come from talent-based organizations as well, and so we have some cool things we can show there. But the development of a recruitment dashboard that scores candidates based on fit, but then when it's time to do the onboarding, has an AI agent available to help them become effective more quickly, is a very popular use case. And this is just the same chart we looked at earlier, summarizing those up against that model. So we're kind of right on pace here for some questions in a second. So I tried to put together some takeaways for everybody. And the number one takeaway, I picked 7 of these, being 7 rivers. So the first one is pick a business challenge. Pick a business problem, pinpoint a specific problem and inefficiency. I was talking to a large bank the other day, and I said, just tell me something you don't like to do. And these commercial bankers right, I said, we don't like using the Visa system. Well, then why are you having to use that system? Could you actually, what is it about it? And could we just automate that step so that it takes the pressure off of you, you can get back to doing the next commercial piece of business? And so, but find a key business challenge, a blocker in your business that's stopping you from being effective, productive, slowing down what you're doing. AI solutions can be tailored to solve a lot of problems, but we see a lot of companies are moving data around right away to get ready. But in my company, we talk a lot about purposeful data movement. Find a very specific problem and let's just move that data. You know, like Scott's doing over at IWC. We're not involved there, by the way. We just know Scott. It's like he moved his stock, he moved his sales data, he moved his invoice data, and he now can do stock overruns and everything really nicely. So he identified a specific area that's been a challenge, and they just moved certain data and solved a problem, and then said, okay, that was a success, we can talk about, now let's do the next thing. The whole time you're doing that proof of concept, by the way, or that rapid prototype, this stuff is on a rocket ship with more coming. So I think getting started is critical in terms of AI. And then, you know, number 2 takeaway for me is data collection and management. You know, how you collect and make sure you have clean data, high quality data, you know, knowing your data sources, having someone in the organization who has that as a responsibility. I'm assuming most people do, but I find oftentimes they don't. Data accuracy, this is just like everything else, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have good data you're building your algorithm on, it's not going to go so well when it comes to decide if you're doing an overstock. It's foundation stuff. The data trains the model, and the model can help you use the data to become a better organization. And then there's a lot of accessible tools out here. And even though we're the proponent of certain companies that we partner with, automated machine learning tools, Snowflake, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, IBM Watson, these are proven tools that have been highly ranked. I was talking to a large bioscience company last month, and we're working through a process to work with them, and they have most of these tools. So the CIO told me, she told me, we're not buying anything new. So this is what you get. This is what's in the kit, right? And they were using Microsoft and Snowflake and a whole bunch of pieces. So, you know, these tools are accessible. They're proven. I'm also talking to companies who still feel, and I don't believe this, that they're so special that none of these tools can help them. That they have something very, very specific that they do. And I love the CEO then comes in the room, by the way, and I love telling stories, you can tell already, and says, but can't we just augment 40%? Are we really that special? Isn't 40% of the stuff we're building the same? And can we just augment that? Because they want efficiency. And that's a private business with, you know, 20 people that own the company saying, well, no, we want to make more money because we get paid on that. So I think, you know, try to use accessible tools and tools that are successful. And if there's ever a risk of getting left behind because you think you're special, this is it. That this stuff's going to move quick. And, you know, I'm sure when all this social stuff and, you know, people used to talk about getting, you know, Netflixed. If you remember, the whole Blockbuster used to exist. mean, this stuff is actually a little more rampant than that, and you're going to see new companies show up in the space. You know, we've already seen new models show up in insurance with Lemonade and I can't remember the name of the company in Northwest Mutual bought a couple of LearnVest. There are new age companies coming online using demographic data and data to drive new business, and they are going to take market. So some of this is protect as much as advance your business. Focus on quick wins. I can't, and even though I would love my company to do large projects, and we're doing a lot of these proof of concepts and rapid prototypes, companies who are being successful because they're focusing on a specific problem and getting a win. And we're working with many companies who have zealous people who think this is critical to the transformation of the company, using this number 4 recommendation to help get their executive team's attention to keep putting some muscle behind these new technologies to help advance a company's purpose. Number 5, educate and train the staff. In this case, I consider the staff as also your executive team. They want to understand this. We're doing a lot of quarterly business reviews, going in and just doing education sessions with executives, doing workshops at companies where the executive team participates or gets a readout. So we're just kind of bringing everybody along on what's happening. We're showing some of the same video content and assets we showed when I started, case studies, so everyone kind of sees what's possible. I think that's critically important. But ultimately, getting your staff trained. These tools aren't super difficult to use. We can help, others can help, but quite frankly, I mean, if you haven't started using this stuff yet, you're not using some GPT or OpenAI or Gemini, Perplexity is a great search engine. Kind of tired of seeing all the ads on the side, but it doesn't matter. It's doing some pretty powerful stuff. You should be trying this stuff out. And then collaborate with experts. Not advertising. And then, or I would have put that on number 7 if I was advertising. And number 7 is, stay informed and adapt. I think right now it's critical to read something about this around your job, just your job, every day, every week. Read something about what's happening with this. People are publishing, blogging. You can ask GPTs how this relates to your job and how your job might get augmented, hopefully not disintermediated, augmented, and how you can be ready to better serve as more of your cycles free up or your team's cycles free up in the world that you're in. It's all really about staying competitive, and I think we've all heard enough around this area that we know there's a big change coming around how this stuff fits into businesses. Some areas I think more than others, but certainly all of it. So we do that at this company. It's all we do. I left enough time for questions, so Dan comfortably left the room. So sometimes he has to give me the hook. So let me stop. It's a lot of information, and just hear from anyone here on what, and if you don't ask me a question, you've been in my presentation before about asking questions, but are people working on this? I mean, y'all came here today to hear about this aspect. Are people, is any particular business have a story about how they're using this today that they want to share? Or do you just have a general question for me, based on your business, how you might use it? I've done this, so someone will call and say, we make taxes, right? And I'll tell you how to use this for that. This is what do you all do, or what questions might you have for me? Artificial intelligence, grounded data. Does anybody think they're going to be using a Tesla bot in 2026 in this room? I'm going to chuckle over there, but that's a serious question. What aspects of this seem like most prevalent?
We're using the AI to form agents that do what EDRs used to do.
Okay, so you're using AI to create AI agents that are like an automaton EDR that will help make sales calls, book sales calls. Yes. Okay, that's pretty cool. You should say that. That's good. Anyone else? What companies are all here today? I saw Hustle on the back. Do you guys do anything with this? GPTs, AI?
Yeah, for users, for employees, we're trying out Copilot. Probably have 20 people, about 500 people on Teams Premium just to take advantage of that for productivity. Started playing with Copilot Studio, which is really fascinating. Kind of see a way to try to get some of your existing data
Copilot is a cool solution horizontally. You just look at it. I was in a meeting the other day with a prospect who had a room reserved for his 37 virtual employees. And people said, why can't I use this room? And they had 37 virtual employees in that office because they're sending a message that we're doing. It was all larger companies right now. So Copilot for developing code.
Well, and then Copilot, GitHub, this is like a Copilot card. But Copilot for GitHub is what some of our software developers are using. And as far as which of them from a professional career employee is most impactful, that is mine.
100%.
Incredible.
Do you do anything that makes it to the manufacturing floor with that code? Or IT or?
Not a lot of, most of it is PC application related, not as much PLC. We do a lot of our code with national instruments, so it's just not the right
Okay.
environment for it, I guess, but then, I mean, we're looking at machine learning for supply chain optimization, for forecasting. But to be honest, most of our headaches are getting our data infrastructure that we have to reliably.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Number two takeaway here.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But you have to keep moving on it. It sounds like you're looking at it.
we're trying.
Other companies.
I mean, we use ChatGPT constantly to make content for social media, for blog posts.
For multiple products. What does Pro USA think?
It's for shark crates. We make wood shipping crates.
Okay.
And then on the other side, we use it a ton for coding as well, or either making small updates on our website or to our online ERP. It's amazing.
Okay, great. Others?
So I'm on the talent side, just have a small funny story.
Okay.
One client in Dallas who set up a control room that they staffed with early career engineers to read all the PLC data to be able to get ahead of maintenance issues. So they did that really for real time evaluation of PLCs and kind of HMI interface. Well, fast forward 3 to 6 months now, these 2 early career engineers have shown the larger group how they can use all this data for trending so that they can predict when the temperature is going to, so now they can tell the larger teams, okay, the temperature is going up to this threshold. We need to get maintenance out now the week prior to the heat event so that they can prevent the machines from going up. It's been kind of fun to watch the evolution of these 2 early career engineers who were AI trained coming in and kind of helping the larger group understand what's possible with the data coming through. Matic is the data tool that they use to aggregate all the data.
Oh, that's great.
Kind of fun.
Yeah. So as soon as you said talent in HR, it made me think about that's stuff for renewable life. They were having high turnover of engineers and trying to think about how to keep their talent. And one of the things they noticed in corollary to the data was I think generation now rewards, feedback, and so forth, and if they needed more people to get Lean Six Sigma certified, so they actually created a stair-step badging process, and you get multiple badges on the way to getting your Lean Six Sigma certification. And not the green belt and black belt, but sub-steps, and the periodicity of how they trained and provided those rewards and badges that went with them completely reshaped the turnover situation for them. And a lot of these were young European talent, if I recall right, that were turning over. And they responded really well to that. And that was all a data-driven talent thing, just the other story. As I said, I think those stories. Any other questions on some of this? Is this interesting? Is everyone getting inundated with requests for this? Do your organizations seeing ways to apply this? Or is this not that group? Yeah, you're nudging him, so he has to talk now. So what are you doing over there?
I'm a student at BizTimes, and I work on a mock project that was some recommendations to that. I don't do any manufacturing, so I'm just
Just network AI stuff.
that experience.
Okay.
Keep it open, talk about how you put AI. And I make it AIs from Real Engine that integrate ChatGPT with Unreal Engine.
Right, yeah. That's right. Everybody know what the Unreal Engine is? You guys are gamers. Yeah, so who owns that Unreal? Blizzard? Epic Systems, yeah, so that's a customer as well. All right. Other questions about AI?
I was just going to say, people really need the use case information being shared, because they can't imagine it. I think people feel like they're being run over by a tsunami with all that AI can do, and they don't know how to visualize a solution without somebody detailing out a use case for them. Then they go, oh, okay, I get it now.
That's great. So we'll, like I said, I told Dan, we'll provide some of this. One of my employees is in a nuclear body, say they're a competitor. We can't get all of our information out, but we will get this to you. If you're in a business that wants to review this stuff and think about it, we'll figure out how to get it to you. I know did everybody sign up for this room? Okay, all right. So we'll work with Dan to figure out how to get it. If you want something, just find me on LinkedIn, and I'll just, if you're not on LinkedIn, then another question. But you can find me, and my information's on LinkedIn, and if you just get a message to me and you want to get some of this data, that's the easiest way to get it without worrying about the competitive point. So we've built an AI agent that does it. This area is very exciting. You can imagine if I played the video with the Google Glasses again, you can imagine walking around with your phone or other device. Eventually it will be the Meta glasses and their VR headsets, walking through a facility, seeing what's going on with a particular badge, understanding what's happening with the status of critical equipment and stuff. And these things are happening today on devices. Those devices are going to become virtual headsets. It's kind of some cool stuff. But however cool the tech is doesn't matter. So you're solving a business problem is what we're after. And some of these technologies are going to let us augment things like we couldn't in the past. I think that's pretty exciting. And for the company that we're creating, I created a past company that built a lot of augmented enterprises through crowdsourcing with online communities. This one's using AI agents, but the whole idea always is to solve a business problem, drive revenue, profitable growth, take market share, and hopefully this time elevate people to new roles and capabilities, because the menial stuff that we quite frankly don't always enjoy doing, like the visa system, whatever it is, that we don't have to do that. We can spend our time on other things, helping our employees, commercial and so on. That's what's coming like never before. All right, well, I'm going to hang out up here for a little bit. I don't know if there's some food out here or what's happening after 5 o'clock, but if you want to come up and ask a question or drop off a card, make sure you get this deck, we'll get it to you directly. That's fine. All right, thanks for coming.